The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershfor and Dr. Mark Bound. Today, again, we will be answering listener emails as our listener bag exploded on Mark when he opened it, and he picked up an email from Rodney, who lives in Newark, New Jersey. And Rodney asks, Trump's poll numbers look very bad. All reports are that he is in the low 30s on almost every issue, including the economy. Does the panel think this is a good sign that Americans are waking up? Also, the one area Trump is above water is his stance on gender identity. Is this really that important to Americans? And if so, why? Great question, Rodney. Thank you.
My question to Rodney is Newark Airport back up and running again? Because they've had quite some trouble there in Newark. Hopefully, they are back up and running. All right, so I'm going to take the last part of it first. Is this important? To some people, I guess. Gender identity is some big deal. Do I think it's a big deal? No. I guess I don't. Why is it a big deal? I couldn't even begin to tell you. We have some real honest to gosh problems. And it just amazes me that we focus on some of these this minutia in my mind. No, they're not putting cat litter pans in high schools for people that identify themselves as cat. That's not happening. It is not. Stop. This is just silliness. Now, so to Rodney, all I can say is I honestly don't know why it would be a big deal, or if it really is. I think maybe sometimes the media makes a bigger deal of it than it really is, just to fire some people up. But to the first part, yes, his numbers are on water. Is this a good sign for the United States? Are Americans coming out of their fog? You won't know until 2026. Because what those poll numbers are today, and let's remember, it's only been 100 days. Seems like 100 years, but it's only been 100 days. Who knows what the poll numbers will say, in 16 months? Who knows? What do you think, Scott?
So, I read a quote today from H.L. Mencken that I had never heard before. I want to quote him for this. Democracy is when people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. It's a great quote. And and people thought that they knew what they were getting, or they getting what they wanted to get, and they're getting it good and hard. And I don't remember exactly what the question here is from Newark. Something along the lines of, his polls are down. Does that mean the American people are waking up, right? So, yeah. I when the U.S. Senate wakes up, that'll be something. I don't expect that the House will ever wake up. That is, their jobs are too tenuous, having to run every 2 years for them to oppose a Trump, so they're going to stick with him. No matter how ridiculous his ideas are. And for, Americans who are worried about empty shelves in supermarkets, who still remember that happening, for Americans who long for the days of not having to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and wonder what's going on in the world because some kind of craziness is likely to have been tweeted out between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m., etc. We long for the days of quiet. One of the things that Harris would have done for us, that Biden did for us, was not interrupt our sleep wondering if the world is okay. And with Trump, we have to worry about that all the time. So I think hopefully Americans are catching on there. The people who thought getting Trump first term are learning that this Trump is a lot different from that Trump. The big tax deal that Trump likes to talk about in his first term, that was Paul Ryan's tax deal. That was something that Paul Ryan had dreamed of doing for decades, and the American people were smart enough to reject him and Mitt Romney from becoming vice president and president, respectively, when they reelected Barack Obama for the second time. The tariffs are a ridiculous non-answer, a misdiagnosis of a problem, which has to do with trade deficits. Today, in his hearing, Scott Bessent was asked if trade deficits represent a national crisis, and he said that they do, which is crazy because these trade deficits have existed for a long time. And I just think that people need to wake up. Maybe they're beginning to wake up. Maybe the people of Newark are a little ahead of the people in Kentucky, but hopefully everybody is going to realize that this is not, we're not enjoying success right now. We're really trying to stave off as big a failure as we can, and we're doing it like 60 and 90 days at a time. As Trump announces one crazy thing, the stock market reacts angrily towards it, and he postpones it for another 90 days. The Boogaloo has been put off until summertime, so I guess that's good news. But, at some point or another, he's going to be back. There was talk that he's preparing to invade Mexico, which is really a big problem. I think, given the proximity of our two countries and how enmeshed we are with them. He's serious, apparently, about Greenland because he has ordered spying on Greenland. When it comes to spying, I'm reminded that most of our spies are sort of hidden in the State Department, in embassies around, consulates around the world, and in USAID, which is another place that has been cut, and we've lost a lot of our ability to know what's going on in other countries because of that. So we're less informed, we're weaker, we're less healthy. It seems to me that we're unprepared for everything from tornadoes to bacterial infections. And, at some point or another, hopefully people will understand that this was a choice that they made, and that it wasn't a good choice.
Yeah, Rodney, I wanted to add that one huge challenge. Well, I don't know whether Republican polls, if one divides the polling among independents, Democrats, and Republicans, if Republican numbers are showing the same sinking effect as are independents and Democrats. One challenge that I've noticed is that Trump is not accepting the numbers that he's seeing. Apparently now he wants to arrest the pollsters because these are fake polls, and this is another witch hunt. It's all fake. He doesn't want to accept what he sees. The only one who can change his behavior, obviously, is Trump himself. And as long as he continues with this vital lie that he keeps telling himself, which is that everything that he does is right and he never makes any mistakes, and that he believes only what he tells himself, and as long as his people continue to shield him and allow him to lie to himself, his behavior is never going to change, in which case it would take Congress to impeach and convict him, which I don't know if that's going to happen. Trump has been lying about all the deals that he's been doing with other nations regarding trade, talking to the Chinese, doing this, doing that, doing the other thing. None of that apparently is happening, as Scott Bessent had to say in front of Congress that no one has talked to the Chinese. Apparently no deal with any nation has happened. And according to the United States-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, Trump cannot make any trade agreement with Canada without simultaneously renegotiating the trade deal with Mexico. Again, when Trump met with Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, Trump said, "Well, we don't want Canadian cars. We don't need Canadian cars. We don't need this. We don't need that." And Trump doesn't seem to have any concept of how international trade works, and that a trade deficit is not a problem. It's not a national emergency. It's so I don't know what it will take. And once the American public does find that there is a problem, my next concern then becomes Trump's using the Insurrection Act to quell protests, because he will believe that everything he's doing is fine and right, and that the American people are stepping out of line and are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and that everybody who is protesting is a left radical lunatic communist. And Trump is apparently speaking with countries like Libya and Rwanda, and also with now Ukraine, even though Ukraine has no viable working airport, to send migrants who are arrested by ICE to those countries. So, I mean, the expansion of what is just mind-bogglingly, I mean, I don't, it's, to me, it's insanity. So I'm just concerned about what happens when the American public does wake up, if that will even have any salutary effect. And as far as gender is concerned, the gender identity issue, that certainly is important to people. And Maine just won the court case. The governor of Maine had said that she would see Trump in court because they weren't going to worry about the transgender swimmer. And Maine just won its court case against Trump. Trump was withholding money from the state of Maine and was just ordered to release that money. So, I mean, people who are in the LGBTIQA plus community, they just want to live their lives and have the same rights and entitlements and be a regular American just like anybody else. The far right has made gender identity a much bigger issue by making people who identify a target, when none of that needed ever to happen. So I hope at least that I've answered your question. Mark, Scott, anything else that you wanted to add?
Just one thing about the gender identity, because again, this is one of these wedge issues that the right-wing media broadcasts out every day. If you're not watching it, as I'm not, and I don't think either of you are, we're not seeing it, so we don't understand why it's considered so outrageous. Every now and then my mother-in-law will bring it up as a topic, and it seems so silly. That Riley Gaines became sort of the poster child for complaining about transgender in sports. And I had to watch John Oliver, of all things, on Sunday night a few weeks ago to discover that Gaines, who claimed that it was unfair that she had to swim against a transgender athlete named Leah Thomas, and that she didn't finish first because of Leah Thomas being a man, and she was forced to swim against a man. As it turns out, they both tied for 5th place in that race that she was talking about. Neither one of them finished first, and neither one of them finished, showed, or placed. And just, it continues to be like ridiculously stupid topic that we shouldn't spend any more time on.
No. And you're right, Scott. And if there's some hope to be taken, Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, was in the Oval Office and basically told Trump, no, we are not for sale, of which Trump's comment was, well, it's a matter of time. And Carney's like, look at him like, oh, I don't think you understand. We're not for sale. But if, as Scott says, there's so many topics that are just come out of this. We have some real problems. And I'm just reading right now that the United States, President Trump is floating an idea. We're not going to call it the Persian Gulf anymore. We're going to rename it the Gulf of Arabia or the Arabian Gulf. Now, if that hasn't helped your gas prices, I don't know what will. And if that's the stuff that you're behind, hey, you knock yourself out, America, because that's real important stuff, because we're the only one that refers to it as the Gulf of America, and we'll be the only ones. Maybe the Arabians will, Saudi Arabia might say, okay, the Gulf of Arabia, we like that. But these are the things you're worried about. Telling a prime minister of Canada, oh, no, you're going to sell your country to me. You're going to be, and the prime minister looking him straight in the eye and say, no, we're not. We're not. So there are people out there who actually see this as reality, that there is a reality out there beyond what, most Trump people think there is. And so take heart in that, if nothing else, just be hopeful in that.
But, the most disturbing thing about that conference in the Oval Office was the Oval Office, which is getting more and more gold gilded to the point where it almost seems like, they're sitting on these colored chairs now, the gold stuff in the background on all the walls. And it's just a matter of time before Trump demands that he wear a gold crown whenever he sits in the Oval Office. And that when people come in, they should take a knee or bow to him or something like that. It's just, it's getting more and more ridiculous in that room.
Maybe Doge will come in and repossess the gold stuff because try to save some. Well, maybe that's why they're getting rid of so many employees in the federal government so they could buy more gold for the Oval Office. I don't know. But
he continues to say that there's no such thing as gold paint, that this is real gold. So
yeah,
I don't know, sir. I've seen gold paint. Sir, there is gold paint. There is gold paint, sir.
Sir. Well, hopefully we answered that one.
Oh, my God. Yes. Thank you very much, Rodney, for the question. Oh, my. Thank you. And thank you for spending some time with us on the Nova Society. Thank you again for listening, and thank you to all our listeners. Stay safe. Look out for one another. We'll see you again next time. Take care, everyone.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Phoenix Research Group, an independent research consortium offering social-political issue solutions to NGOs and international government agencies through multidisciplinary, nonpartisan, and unbiased research. The Phoenix Research Group is a division of the Phoenix Research Institute, the producer of the Nova Society podcast.